Greetings comic book fans, I'm Jason and welcome to my comic book reviews. This week we got 13 books to go with, so hopefully we can stick to that magic number of 20 minutes. Fingers crossed. First up, apologies, there was no haul video this week. I intended to do one on Wednesday, but unfortunately circumstances beyond my control meant time wise I just wasn't able to do one, so I apologies for that. I should be back to normal service this week, so expect, hopefully, fingers crossed, expect to see a haul video this Wednesday. So getting into my reviews, we're going to kick things off with DC's weekly books, and the first of which is Future's End, issue number 23. I just really enjoy this book, so consistent. This issue, we get a bit more with Tim Drake. He's kind of stalking his girlfriend, which isn't cool, and I didn't like. I don't really like her either, Madison. I find her very self-absorbed. Yeah, what her dad done to her was bad, but come on, you know, it took a lot for Tim to tell you the truth that he was Tim Drake, that this was a part of his life he left behind him. He woke up with his teammates' brains all over him. That's going to mess you up. That's going to leave scars. Anyone who goes through war does not come out of it the same. So I just feel that she's kind of not really experienced the same things he has, but she's trying to say, I'm a bigger victim than you, and it shouldn't be about that. Here's a guy that loved you, and yeah, he should have told you the truth from day one, but it was something he never thought he was going to tell anyone. So I can understand with her history, but I just don't really like the Madison character. I think Tim's better off out of it. However, it does look, I'm a bit concerned with the direction they're taking Tim's character. I'm hoping that it isn't going to be into a darker kind of stalkery kind of character. I'm hoping not. That I wouldn't like to see that for Tim. A bit brighter though, the female mercenaries, that last issue that I didn't like, they're actually pushing them in a direction that is quite interesting, as they've kind of been taken on by Sergeant Rock to assassinate 50 Sue. So I liked that mainly because usually anyone who goes up against 50 Sue ends up dead. So those female characters I didn't like look like they're going to be out of there. Sergeant Rock, when he announced his name, it was kind of like there was supposed to be a certain gravitas to that it was a big thing that this is Sergeant Rock, but it went over my head because, like, DC, I'm not an expert of. The name was familiar, but I didn't have, like, yeah, it went over my head. I really like the space stuff. Every issue, that's always my favourite stuff, with Frankenstein and Hawkman and Amethyst. Now we've added the Atom and Black Adam to their group, which is cool. I always liked Black Adam. I find him an interesting character. But also, I really like the Atom. He was really an ass kicker this issue, and he seems to really picked himself up and seems to be a hero again, which is really cool. I really like that when characters kind of pull themselves up, and to see that kind of redemption, I love that kind of thing. So I really like what they did with his character this issue. The end, the twist at the end, where we got back 25 years in the future, it was spoilt slightly because all through the DC books this week there's a 6-page advert for Future's End, which is really cool. But there's an image in that kind of spoils the end of this. It kind of takes a little bit of the impact of it out. So yeah, that was a bit, that I felt hurt the book a bit, but not majorly. However, the art this issue I liked. I really liked the art this issue. It was really strong. But I feel the artists on this book are more consistent. They're more similar styles, so it isn't too big of a jump week to week as Batman Eternal, where I feel they use very different artists from week to week. But yeah, this was another really strong issue, and I give Future's End, issue number 23, 4 stars out of 5. Moving on now, we move on to Batman Eternal, issue number 27. This issue kind of jumps around a lot, this issue. We have Killer Croc's story that we follow. We have Batman trying to find Hush. We have Catwoman. We have a bunch of gangsters trying to plot to kill Catwoman. We have Spoiler giving Batman a message for something or other. So yeah, we jump over. Oh, and we have Batgirl with Commissioner Bard. So we have all these different stories that seem to be kicked off, which you know, is intriguing. Um, I liked Catwoman's the best. I like there's a kind of a tragic tinge to her story, where she's got this direction she doesn't want to go in, but everything that's going on is pushing her in that direction that she doesn't want to go. And you can see she's going to end up where she doesn't want to be. But it's like her father said a few issues ago, you know, to protect the people you love, you need to do this. To help the least people be hurt, you need to do this. You need to become the crime boss. So I really like the direction of her story, even though it's a bit of a tragic way. I think it makes her character and her story that much more interesting. I was a bit upset that we didn't find anything more about Alfred. At least I would have liked to have known, does Batman know that Alfred's been took from the hospital, or don't they know yet? Because he's been pretty frantic to find Hush, and I was just wondering, you know, was that why? The art this issue I did not like at all. Just didn't float my boat at all. Just wasn't for me. I really enjoyed the Batgirl, Commissioner Bard stuff, and I'm really interested that way that's going to take. I'm curious with who's behind this, because it's been set up that it's Hush, and initially I thought, yeah, well, yeah, it's Hush behind all of this, and it makes sense why Hush would want to burn down Gotham. That means so much to Bruce. That makes total sense. But like, I'm thinking, this book, I think they said it was going to run for 60 issues, and we're on issue 27. So it seems pretty early for us to know who's behind it all. So I'm kind of curious, you know, is Hush really behind it? Or is there somebody else, somebody bigger that's facilitating Hush to do all this? Time will tell, and I'm interested in what goes on with Bard and Batgirl, because it could throw a little bit of light on whether somebody bigger is kind of pulling the strings. I liked how they used spoiler a lot more this issue. I thought it was more realistic than last issue, where they had this person who was basically a civilian a few weeks ago now can break into a high security prison. Yeah, I didn't buy that. But this issue, the way they use her character, I thought it worked a lot better. All in all, I really enjoyed this issue, even though it had its problems. I enjoyed it, and to give Batman Eternal issue number 27 4 stars out of 5. So moving on right along now to our regular DC books, monthly books. We have Batgirl issue number 35, the start of a brand new creative team on this book, and I'm catching up with the Gail Simone stuff. I'm up to issue 27, so I haven't got all the way through it yet, but I'm catching up with the Gail Simone stuff. But the first thing that really struck me reading this book is some of the actions of Batgirl seem out of character. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting drunk, picking up a fella, having a smooch, passing out, and waking up in the morning and remembering none of it. There's nothing wrong with that, and you know, I wouldn't condemn anybody for doing that. But it just didn't feel in tune with this character. I at least liked that her former flatmate does call her on it, does say, well, that's not like you, Barbara, what's going on? So maybe that's going to be a plot point later on. They're going to come back to that. Maybe this guy who picked her up wasn't who she thought he was, or she was drugged for some other reason. So yeah, I'm really curious to see if they go anywhere with that, because it did seem really out of character. Also, age. I didn't realise she was supposed to be 21. I thought she was supposed to be older than that, and certainly her character seemed older. So that was a bit of a surprise. Other than those minor gripes, I really enjoyed this. I loved the tone of the book. It definitely has a very Hawkeye feel, where we're not dealing so much with her being a superhero, we're dealing just as much with her everyday life, as well as her being a superhero. So it had that kind of Hawkeye vibe. The art works well with the story, keeping that fun vibe, and I really liked how they added in like the kind of the texts and the emails. I really liked that. It gave it a real modern, contemporary feel than a lot of other books. It really made a lot of the other DC books seem dated in some ways. the way this book is written, it does feel like it's a book written for young people by young people. I almost felt too old to read the book because it has that kind of young feel, and it feels like it perfectly captured somebody of the age that she's supposed to be, which you don't always feel that way when you read some of the comics. All in all, I like I say, I really enjoyed it. I could totally 100% understand why fans of the Gail Simone run of the character might not like this, but personally I enjoyed it, and I'm intrigued to see where it's going to go next. And I give Batgirl issue number 35 4 stars out of 5. So moving right along now to Batman issue number 35, and I went into this knowing absolutely nothing, and I really enjoyed it. The art by Greg Capullo, if it's possible for him to get better, he has. He is on top form here. It was just fantastically awesome art. So much depth to it. It was gorgeous. Just when you think the dude can get no better, he seems to crank it up a little bit. The end of the story, oh my days, I could not believe it when I got to that point. I just went into total geekasm overload. Oh wow, I don't have the vocabulary to kind of express elegantly enough how surprised, shocked and overjoyed I was when I got to that last page. It was brilliant. Snyder just crafts a fantastic story here, and Capullo with the visuals just spot on. It just, everything about this book was a slice of bat perfection. The backup as well was really nice. One of my kind of things that grinds my gears is when they charge $4.99 for a book and then they give you a backup. I'm like, if you're gonna charge $4.99, at least give us extra story. And when I kind of got to the end of the main bit and I'd got over the shock of that last page, I kind of came back down to earth and said, why have they given us a backup? But then I read the backup, and oh my days, it was excellent as well. Written by James Tynion. Or is it Tynion or Tynan? I'm never quite sure. The fourth. And art by Kelly Jones, who's an artist I've not seen before. But it's really good. It's called The Pale Man. And I gather it's part 1. You have these inmates of Arkham, I think there's 5, and they've broken out of Arkham, and they break to their doctor's place, and they basically kidnap their doctor. And they each have a story, and one story is true, the others are not. And they've each been told these stories, and they don't know yet which one of these stories is true. But the one that's true, they're going to live, and the others are going to die. So, and it's all attached to the end of the main story, Batman story. The character we see at the end there, it's all attached to him. It's a really creepy story. There's a real horror vibe going on with it, and I just really enjoyed it. And any kind of gripes I had about, why have they given us a backup? This is stupid. You know, that was gone, because when the backups are that good and it kind of ties into the main story, yeah, I don't mind so much. So yeah, this book was just absolutely brilliant. Like I say, a slice of bat perfection, and I give Batman issue number 35 my pick of the week. So now we move on to Image Comics, and we have Copperhead issue number 2. Really enjoying this book. They described it as a sci-fi western. I describe it as a really good book. I love the character dynamics, especially between Bronson and a deputy, Bo. That is just really a really good dynamic there, as they've like kind of, they don't have each other's respect yet, and they're kind of working against each other in some ways. I really liked but all the scenes, all the dialogue between the characters works really well, and it's really good. We were introduced to a drunk doctor, which I don't know why, when I think of westerns I always think of drunk doctors, but we're introduced to one this issue, so that was really cool. And yeah, the story just is developing really well. It's got all this fantastical kind of space stuff in it, but it's grounded at its core. by the fact that it's a woman trying to bring up a child on her own while maintaining a job. And that grounds it, that realism grounds the rest of the story. The emotions all feel real. I get a real kind of Babylon 5 kind of vibe with all these different alien races and everybody trying to coexist and get on. I do get a very Babylon 5 kind of vibe from it. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying this series, and I give Copperhead issue number 2 5 stars out of 5. Sticking with Image, next up we have Wytches, another book from Scott Snyder this week, with art by Jack and colours by Matt Hollingsworth. This book, it was disturbing, it was scary, and it was captivating, if I had to describe it in 3 words. The beginning, we kind of kick it off. I think it's in the past. Yeah, it's in the past. We get at the end the date. So we kick off the story in the past, and it's this like you kind of get in your head around where the story is, and then something's introduced, and then there's this turn, and you're like, oh my god. But by then you're captivated. You can't look. It's one of those things you can't look away. You can't not read the rest of the book. And you carry on. We get to the modern day. We meet our main character, Sale, and we get her story and all her backstory and what's been happening to her. And then, you know, events take another twist. Yeah, like I say, it hooks you and it just does not let go. And I'm just captivated by this book now, and I want to know what happens next. In the back, there's a really, really nice essay by Scott Snyder as he talks about his inspirations for the story. And I just think Snyder can write anything and make it captivating. I don't really always read those bits at the back, but I started reading this bit by Snyder, and it just pulled me in. And he's just a fantastic writer, and I really enjoyed this book. Don't be put off if horror's not your thing, because it's just a really good story. And I'd give Wytches issue number 1 5 stars out of 5. Next up, from Titan, we have Doctor Who, New Adventures with the 10th Doctor, issue number 3. This concludes the initial story arc with the Doctor and the Cerebrals. Wraps up the story nicely, ties everything up, explains everything, which I really liked, and there were some nice little twists. They really have got the voice of the 10th Doctor very, very well. I love the companion. I find her relatable and interesting, and I've grown to care for her in just 3 issues. I've grown to really care what happens to her. I like the winks to the TV show where they're in a cemetery and he looks at like one of the statues, like could it be a weeping angel? But it's that kind of look that like you kind of pick up on. And there's a scene with the Cerebrals where they're trying to make him see his fears, and we get kind of kickbacks to characters from the TV show, and also at the end there's a bit of dialogue where we throw in a phrase that fans of the TV show would pick up on. So yeah, there's a lot of nice nods there to the TV show. I'm just really, really enjoying this series, and I feel they're doing a smashing job on both of them, and this was another strong issue, and I'd give Doctor Who 10th Doctor Adventures 5 stars out of 5. So now we move on to Marvel, and we kick things off for Marvel with The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 7. This is kind of split into 2 parts. Initially we get a story that's basically a team-up story with Miss Marvel. I'd not met this character before. I've got the a Marvel Unlimited app. I've got the first, I think, 2 issues, is it, of Miss Marvel to read that I haven't read yet. So this was a new character for me, but I liked her. I thought she went well with Spider-Man. I liked this issue. It was a fun feel to the issue, which I felt balanced the book nicely because of what comes later. But I thought it was a nice fun story, nice team up, really introduced Miss Marvel well and made me kind of want to know a bit more about her, which is the aim when you have a team up like this. It should leave you wanting to know a little bit more about her. So that was really fun, and I really enjoyed that. We then get like kind of the backup where we meet Spider-Man UK, who we see down here, and he's from the Omniverse, and where you've got all these Captain Britons from different universes. From his universe, he's not just Captain Britain, he's Spider-Man. So we meet him, and he's kind of using the technology of the core to kind of go look at different realities, and he's seeing how this family are killing all the different Spider-Men throughout the realities, and he goes to kind of report this to his superiors. I really like this story. We get to see one Earth. It's called Earth number 1983, and we have Morlun, and he's killed Spider-Man and his amazing friends, which I really like the fact that it was called Earth 1983, and that they managed to throw in there Spider-Man and his amazing friends. I thought that was really cool. Even though Dan Slott is a very mean man for killing them off, I also really liked that for the first time outside the Avengers, we've got somebody mentioning that the universe is dying, and I really liked that, and that they kind of that it's big and big thing that's going to happen, and I really liked I like that a lot, that because it really makes bigger what's happening in that book if you're seeing it in other books as well. But yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed this, both parts of it. I felt having the lighter story at the beginning really helped, because we got quite a bit of dark at the end. But another really strong issue, and I give Spider-Man issue number 7 5 stars out of 5. Well, I failed with the 20 minutes, so I have to get my skates on, get through the rest of these books. We have Captain Marvel issue number 8. I've just come to this conclusion. You can team up Rocket Raccoon with any character and it'll be awesome. A Rocket Raccoon is that good of a character. I really liked the story. It was a fun story. It rounded everything off nicely. Was a lot of fun, and we saw people working together as a team, and it worked out really well. The end I also really liked, and there's a really nice moment between our team Marvel that I really enjoyed. And like I say, this book's just always really good and really fun. I really love how Kelly Sue DeConnick writes the character, and I'd give Captain Marvel issue number 8 5 stars out of 5. We then have The Punisher issue number 11. This book was awesome. This was the strongest issue of this book, I think, yet. I really enjoyed it. Once again, we've got things aren't going well for the Punisher. We get a great twist as a reveal of kind of something that happened a few issues back, but we get it from a different perspective now, and that there was more to it, because certain characters' actions didn't seem to be sitting right with me. I didn't understand why they'd done what they'd done, but then we get to see what really happened this issue. Everything kind of clicks in and makes sense, and I think that was a really great job there, and really well written. We get a character's return, which was brilliant, and with that character coming back, we get to see a different side of the Punisher, and I really liked that. It created a bit more depth for the character, so I really liked the side that brought out, so I'm really looking forward to that. Other characters we're still following, and there's bad stuff going on there, so I'm really looking forward to seeing when Punisher returns to LA, what's going to go down there. But yeah, this was just a really good issue. The best issue yet of the series, and I'd give Punisher issue number 11 a definite 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Avengers issue number 36, and we're still 8 months in the future, and they're really building up that this mission that they've got to go on is a big mission where then most likely it's a suicide mission. They're not coming back, and they really build this issue, the gravitas of that, and that it is big what's coming, and I liked that. I also like that this issue, the spotlight is on the so-called lesser characters, the characters that Hickman during his run hasn't spent as much time on. This issue I really liked that they got the spotlight, and that was really cool. The art here by Cashelli was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. As always with Hickman, I kind of got lost on a bit of the science, but I think I picked it up again. But yeah, he loses me sometimes on a bit of the science, but that might be to do with me more than him. But yeah, I really enjoyed this issue, and I'd give Avengers issue number 36 4 stars out of 5. Our penultimate book this week is Raccoon, issue number 4. This was fantastic. Scotty Young is doing a bang up job. It concludes the initial story arc as we finally, Rocket comes face to face with this other raccoon who has set him up, and we get the reveal of who he is. The other story as well with the ex-wives club, that kind of comes to fruition as well. There's a real heart-wrenching end to the story. And then there's a twist. But yeah, this was just brilliant. It was funny, it was sad, it played with your emotions, but it was a whole load of fun for the ride. And I think it kind of summed up what made the Guardians of the Galaxy film so successful. It kind of made you laugh, it made you cry. And yeah, this was just a brilliant book, and the art as well really works well with the story. And you know, I actually, because sometimes with the art style, I always wonder, can you convey that much emotion? And he does. This issue, Scotty Young does convey quite a bit of emotion, and I really enjoyed this. And I give Raccoon, issue number 4, a definite 5 stars out of 5. And our final book this week is Avengers X-Men Axis number 1. My most anticipated book. This week. I was really looking forward to this. Let's go through it. I felt the art I liked, particularly some of the layouts. I think are really done well. The way they lay the book out, and there's some really cool bits. The backles all the way through the book are just brilliant, and they make the event. I'm trying to find another page. They make the event seem epic. I like that you've got like all the heroes are having to team up to backle Red Onslaught, and it makes the threat seem that much bigger. I like the beginning where the Avengers are battling Plant Man, because we don't get to see that enough these days. It's always these big end of the universe kind of threats, rather than some guy who wants to turn Los Angeles into a tropical rainforest, you know. We don't get enough of those. It's always massive, and it was nice for once to see the Avengers dealing with just like a localized threat rather than a galactic one. See, one of my problems with the book though was some of the character moments were inconsistent. Tony Stark in this, while I liked how he was written in here, was inconsistent where he is with the other books. In Avengers, it's kind of come out what him and the Illuminati have been up to. So Captain America is kind of after him, and that was when before Cap got de-aged. So it kind of doesn't tally up with where the Avengers book is. And then you've got like Cyclops, and while I loved the scene where things are looking bad, basically Cyclops and Havoc, things are looking bad for them. And the X-Men show up to help to rescue them, and there's this great bit of dialogue where Cyclops goes, "They came," and then Nightcrawler goes, "Of course we did, you're X-Men, this isn't work, this is family." Yeah, Nightcrawler saying that, so that works because he hasn't got as many hard feelings towards Cyclops. But it just where Cyclops is in the X-Men books, and his relationship with the X-Men, while I loved that scene and seeing them back together, that was awesome. At the same time, it didn't sit right with where their characters are in their own books. So I did find, and part of me is like, let go of continuity, just enjoy the story for the story. But like these aren't like little bits like he's wearing the wrong colour boots, or you know, it isn't like a small bit. These are the big plot points in the main universe with where these characters are at. And it did impede my enjoyment of the story because it just didn't ring true, even though I wanted to enjoy it because I loved the moment that was happening. That was cool. But overall I enjoyed it. I think I was slightly disappointed, but maybe my hopes, I'd hyped it up too much and my hopes were too high. But I'm looking forward to seeing where the event's going to go. I really like the Red Onslaught as a villain, and they really made him seem like a big villain that all the heroes kind of have to team up to fight. So I really like that, and I really like the kind of turn at the end. So yeah, overall, I'd say I enjoyed it, and give Access issue number 1 4 stars out of 5. So there we go, on the half-hour mark, we're done for another week. Next week's going to be a bigger week. I think I've got 16 books I'm picking up, maybe 17, we'll see. Hopefully it'll be 16. But I'm not sure if another Doctor Who book is out next week. I think it might be. If it is, then it will be 17. If not, then it will be 16. So hopefully next week I can get better at keeping the reviews shorter. It is tough sometimes. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I know it's a lot of time to sit listening to me gabble on, but I appreciate it. If you did enjoy my gabbling on, please give me those beautiful thumbs up. Let me know you like what you're watching. I will be back, fingers crossed, on Wednesday with my haul video, and then back next weekend with a review video. I've been Jason. These have been my comic book reviews. Bye for now.